name is Patricia Arias, and I'm guest scientist at the University of Mannheim. I came from Spain with an Alexander von Humboldt postdoctoral fellowship to do collaborative research here for 2 years. My research project is focused on improving digital authentication, because nowadays we have to interact with many services, many devices, and we need to constantly prove our identities by mainly passwords, and this is not practical and it's not secure either. So in my presentation, I will tell how to improve this authentication based on password and evolve from this technology to better solutions. So good evening, everybody. I'd like to start my presentation with a number. 44. 44 is the number of hours we spend every year writing passwords. And I'm not taking into account all the time and stress that we make when we forget them. And to give just a few more numbers, we have 100 accounts in average, which means that we should ideally create 100 different passwords with adequate length, complex combination of characters, and this is overwhelming. So we try to create strategies to deal with it, like reusing passwords across sites, which makes us more vulnerable to attacks. And also, from a security perspective, passwords can be cracked. They can be stolen through phishing. And even if you have chosen the most secure password in the world, if the online services you are accessing don't properly protect their databases, then passwords can be exposed online, as we have seen many times in the news before. So for these reasons, because there are usability and security problems, there have been a lot of attempts by major industry players and even by governments to kill the password. But apparently, this guy here managed to create a technology that is killer-proof. And the question is why? Why are we still using massively a technology that comes from the 60s and that is known to be imperfect? And the answer is that research is failing. It's failing to provide alternatives that are convincingly better. So let's take a look at some of these alternatives to better understand the big picture. And authentication can be classified as something you know, a secret like a password, but also as something you are, a personal feature, a biometric, or something you have, an object. If we take a closer look at the something you are, the biometrics, they can be built on physiological traits like face or fingerprint, but they can also be based on behavioral patterns. And here, there is a lot of research trying to authenticate users by how we walk, how we type on our computers, how we move around or use applications, but even by our brain waves or heartbeat. And this makes biometrics convenient. They are easy to use because you don't need to remember anything. You just need to be there. But they come with other problems, like they don't provide still high accuracy, and they are subject to different subset of attacks that we need to understand too. Now, if we look at the something you have, here we need to carry an additional object that knows how to communicate with an application to confirm our identity. And this can be a smart card, a smart watch, smart ring, any smart object. But there have been even more unusual kind of proposals like vitamin pills or even tattoos with small chips incorporated inside. So there is a wide range of alternatives. But which is the best one? And here I can tell you that after a lot of time researching, the correct answer is it depends. There's no mechanism, and it won't be one, that is better than all the others in every possible situation and for every possible user. The best choice will depend on the context. And I'll show you by example. So imagine we are at home and we are accessing a low-sensitive application in our smartphone. We are close to our laptop and the light in the room is dark. So here, the first 3 pieces of information suggest that we are in a safe space. The probability of being attacked is low, so we can discard medium to high authentication mechanisms and favor weaker but more usable ones. And we can even take into account the fact that the light is poor and discard mechanisms like face recognition that won't work. So voice could be a good choice here. If we now move to a different situation, where we are in a public space and we are using our laptop to access an online bank account, here the situation is clearly more risky. So if we want to keep the security level high, but we don't want to bother the user, we can combine two biometrics, for example, like fingerprint and key dynamics that both can be captured in the laptop. So context matters. And based on this observation, I think that the path to evolve from passwords is adaptive authentication. What does it mean? It means creating a system that is intelligent, a kind of artificial brain that is able to sense the user context and select dynamically which is the best mechanism to authenticate her. And this is the core idea of my research that I wanted to share with you. And I came to the University of Mannheim to achieve it because I realized that there were other adaptive systems being designed, like self-driving cars. And here, at the Chair of Information Systems too, they have expertise on designing adaptive systems. So we decided to collaborate and apply those design principles to the domain of authentication, which is what I know about. And we came up with a prototype we are implementing with 4 software components: a monitor to collect contextual data from the user, an analyzer that extracts meaningful information, and then plan and execute components that select and activate one or more authentication mechanisms. And I think that these adaptive systems can bring many benefits. Unfortunately, I don't have the time today to tell them all, but with this talk, I hope I've convinced you that we've got to break free from passwords. And as a famous cryptographer from the 19th century said, any security system should not require the users to comply with a long list of rules and should not be stressful. So let's get back our 44 hours. Thank you.